morning, and welcome to another First Five. For those of us who are 16 or older and have our driver's license, we remember the day that we began to learn to drive. And as we're learning to drive, I remember there being an abundance of things I was taught to do in step-to-step fashion. So you get things of like how to start the car, what you do first, your seatbelt, you're adjusting your mirrors, all of these other things. One of the very specific things I remember is being explained how to go around a curve. I remember that my instructor saying you brake in and you accelerate out. So you brake on your way into the curve and you accelerate on your way out of the curve. And I remember thinking, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't get why you'd accelerate on your way out. Just the other day, I was driving my car and I realized that that is the natural progression. As you slow up and then speed out of the curve, you get the smoothest turn. But I was doing it naturally. I wasn't thinking, okay, brake, turn, accelerate. I wasn't thinking those things. Instead, I just did it. There's a shift in our brain when things become natural to us, when we start to act a certain way because we've trained ourselves to do so. Jesus makes the same paradigm shift as he talks to people about the law of the Old Testament. Many guidelines and rules are given to us to help us see the right way to live because we need specific things. But the specific things aren't the heart of the issue. And so we get things mixed up. In Matthew chapter 12, we see the same problem happening when Jesus is talking to some Pharisees. So starting in verse 1, it says, "At that time, Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry and began to pick some heads of grain and eat them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, 'Look, your disciples are doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath.' He answered, 'Haven't you read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God, and he and his companions ate the consecrated bread, which was not lawful for them to do, but only for the priests. Or haven't you read in the law that on the Sabbath the priests in the temple desecrate the day and yet are innocent? I tell you that one greater than the temple is here. If you had known what these words mean, 'I desire mercy, not sacrifice,' you would not have condemned the innocent, for the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath." Going on from that place, he went into their synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, they asked him, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?" He said to them, "If any of you has a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a man than a sheep? Therefore, it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath." Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." So he stretched it out, and it was completely restored, just as sound as the other. But the Pharisees went out and plotted how they might kill Jesus. You have two sides of the debate in this passage. The Pharisees come to him and they say, "We understand the law, and you're doing what is unlawful." And Jesus, in the best line of the whole passage, which is the second half of verse 12, it says, "Therefore it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath." It's much more about our heart when we go about our lives than the actual rules at hand. Now, I'm not saying that you get to just throw out any rules you don't want to do. That's the wrong way to interpret this. But what we do need to interpret is the concept of rules versus wisdom. As you live and try to follow Jesus, you start to find out what his heart desires. And then what can happen is you can say, my wisdom, as I follow God, tells me to do this. And you start to follow God naturally rather than following all his rules. And when you get to that place, you may find yourself in a space where you go, I know that the Old Testament law tells me to do this, but I'm going to save my brother even though it's the Sabbath. Old Testament Jews were all about preserving the Sabbath and finding rest. And now we see that we need rest, but that doesn't mean that on a specific day I'm called to do absolutely nothing. So as you live out your lives, seek wisdom rather than rules. Because when we seek rules, we find ourselves legalistic. When we seek the wisdom of God, we find ourselves being molded into the same love that God lives. And when you start to do that, you'll do greater things than you could ever do if you were just following the rules. Have a great day.